It has been brutally cold over the last 2 months. It's like winter Arctic temperatures in fall, but it gives me an opportunity, even though I can't create content around the radio control hobby outside, an opportunity to take my trucks down and clean them off. And I thought, hey, I haven't done an ultra collection video in many years, even though people have been asking for it. And I thought, hey, I could always start off with the largest part of my collection, which are my trail trucks and rock crawlers. And that way, if anybody has any questions or comments they want to leave down in the comment section, I can do my best, if I don't answer them here, to answer them there. So let's start off. There's a lot of rigs here, guys. I've been collecting for more than 10 years. I've given a lot of my trucks away to my friends and people that help the show and the people that are in need that I meet. So if you don't see them here, chances are they're already gone and moved on to another family. Let's start in the back corner over there. Okay, so this is my son's HPI FJ Venture. This is a 1/10 scale trail truck, a fairly good trail truck, I'd say. For a beginner, it wasn't that bad at all. You can see it's a little dusty on the inside. Not a big deal. We live on an acreage here. Everything's dusty. Just by sitting on the shelf, it gets dusty. 35 turn on the inside. We had some issues with the steering servo to begin with, but it was upgraded to a metal gear servo. And then from that point forward, Morris, my son, really enjoyed this truck and still does. I actually had a matching one to it, but I ended up giving it away to somebody that really needed it. Yes, my Gmade Komodo. This is with the tractor tires, the 1.9, what the heck were these called? These are from RC4 Drive, the Mud Basher tractor tire. Yeah, that's what it was. The Mud Basher tractor tire, which I was really surprised because this is the smaller version. You're going to see the larger version in a few moments. This was my first replica of my large full-size vehicle, my Ford F-150. Even though this didn't have another door back here, I kind of modeled it after the same thing. So inside I had the digital coreless servo from Savox, the 1210. Very expensive servo, but you know, I really have had a lot of good luck with those. I put in a Hobby Wing ESC. I tend to use those quite a bit these days because they have quite a bit of value for what they offer. Yeah, my 8 scale, and you'll see both of these vehicles are 8 scale, which means they are larger than the 10 scale vehicles. And just as a side-by-side comparison, there's a 10th scale Komodo and then the Traction Hobby Craigsman / Founder series. Now, they had a bit of a weird naming convention to what they did, but this was the F-150. It had all the extra trim on it, as well as I put a sound kit in here. It's the S-Dual that I got from Asia Tees, as well as I put an upgraded MKS servo in here, which was not waterproof, but that seized up on me pretty quick. But overall, the Axial SMT-10, I believe it was the monster truck that Axial came out with. These are the tires from that. I think they just fit it so well. Moving on, this is the Founder 2. Yes, I'm missing the front nose clip. I lost that this year, 2019, at the Rude Boys RC Tough Truck Challenge, just before we all did the Samurai table, the sumo table I should say, where everybody was pushing trucks off with their trucks. I installed a huge LED light bar on this. It's got to be at least 7 inches long, about that, maybe 6.5, that's what she said, and everything is basically left stock. People say to me, is there any point in getting the 8 scale stuff compared to the 10th scale? And I gotta say, yes. Like, it's not that you're making things easier, is that you're able to take on different areas where your 1/10 scale may not have been able to do before. Let's move on to the next one I have here. This is a very unique looking ride. Some folks will remember this from when I had a Savage. It was a Nitro. I never did run it. I ordered the used one just for this body. Very difficult to find this body. Now here's the 2.2 size version of the 1.9s, which are way over there. And I gotta say, side by side, They are enormous. These are bigger than these are 2.8 diameter D1 RC wheels and tires, D1 RC tires on there. These are even larger. So the inside diameter is 2.2, but these giant mud tires, super soft. I would suggest if you ever got them to try to find some closed cell foam to put on the inside. Does anybody recognize this truck from back in the day? How about if I do this? Should be one giveaway when we're looking at that inside battery tray and inner wheel well. This is before 3D printing happened. This is actually the Beast. This is the one that started it all for me on YouTube, years and years and years, and morphed into so many different trucks. It was a Jeep, it was a Ford, it was obviously a Kawasaki, it was a Dodge at one time. Lots of different trucks this was. I've always had it. I'll have a hard time ever letting that one go. And then look at this little tracked machine. This one from Pig Studios. This is the EV1 rip saw. There's Mini-Me in there that Capo had made for me many years ago. Capo RC, which is an RC company you guys will be familiar with in a few moments. This is a tracked monster, but like any tracked machine, it has limitations. Like if you come up to a bump or to something higher, this doesn't really want to kind of climb up on it like a tire normally conforms, bends, and then kind of crawls up. These are great for snow as long as you're in the snow and it's not too deep. Now, I don't want to be knocking tracked vehicles because they definitely have their place. In fact, in a video, I had this body on this truck ripping its way up a muddy mountain. It was flinging mud, and eventually I had a great smoke show out of the motor. Didn't bother replacing it yet because I know that those little tracks are very hard on a motor, and I'm going to be putting in a brushless system, which would be a lot better. Probably a Tekin Rock 412 setup that has torque and speed, but not super fast, but fast enough to turn the small little pinion in there to rotate that huge track around. When I first saw this Winnebago online, it brought back memories of when I was a kid. I used to play with a similar RV. Let's see if I can get this whole lid open with one hand. Do you remember this from when you guys were kids? Maybe not. Maybe you're too young to remember if you're watching. Had the kitchenette, had the dining room table. Well, they're watching RCSparks. They didn't have a flat screen at those times. A fridge. That's where I keep the battery. And of course, all that neat stuff. I actually acquired this in a trade. Even though I already had one, I had a body that I was going to convert myself. There was some fella named Ryan that actually wanted a 6x6, the Beast 2 RC four-wheel drive. I actually traded him because he wanted it. It was no big deal. And I got this, which was awesome because this came from Jamie. Jamie himself had actually done a whole customization. He's the one who put this on. But I ended up doing a whole different, instead of a driveline system, I went motor on axle here, just to give it ultimate belly clearance. I could talk so much more about these trucks, but guys, there's only so much time in one video. If you have any more questions, leave them down in the comment section. Well, who remembers the Black Widow? At the time when the Black Widow was first released, this was a brainchild between myself and a young fella at the time named David Jr. and his family. He actually molded all the panels out of this. I had a Wraith kit. He was a budding and aspiring builder. He definitely wanted to work on something that I had done because he had been a fan of the show for such a long time. He actually fabricated these panels, and we had never at that time seen anything like inner wheel wells or inner fenders, anything like that. The first time he did these panels was actually out of kitchen floor tile, and then you can see made out of metal. Now, I would run this more often, and the last time we ran it, Crazy Joe actually slammed it into a tree by accident, causing huge front-end damage. But that's okay. It had the custom bumper that David Jr. had put on there, and those original Vanquish axles. This is all set up on a 32-pitch gearing system. Absolute beast. I'm sure we'll see this run again one day, but I love having it on the shelf just so it's part of nostalgic history for me. Anybody watching here follow the build of Bumble Beast? BEE-ST? Do you remember when the lights are on the windshield? Two glowing eyes appear here, making all of Bumble Beast's head. This is what we wanted to do, is to have the AllSpark flow throughout the body and access points. This was a collaboration with my buddy Ryan from Bloodshot Airbrushing. This is a Cross RC PG4L, I believe. Might have the model wrong, but I think that's what it was. But regardless, a great truck, really long, low center of gravity with really low pumpkins for the axle differentials, so I don't really use it that often. Plus the paint job cost me about $500 because it was a custom airbrush job and I got a deal on it, so amazing. That's part of the collection for sure. Of course, if I have Optimus, I've got to have Bumble Beast. The Boom Racing BRX-01, my friends. This was a build that I did. Every one of my trucks usually has a build video series. I chopped for a shorter door. A lot of people hated on me for doing this, but I don't care because it's mine. I loved it because my mini-me could sit here with his arm out and I could easily access the on-off and get him in and out of there. Body pops off like this. You got a great Holmes Hobbies motor on the inside, battery, brushed motor, a little bit of a squealy motor. It lets out a bit of a whine when it's rolling, but not something that really concerned or bothered me. I love the whole different transmission and shifting setup in this truck. The BRX-01 was a very well thought out vehicle, right down to the awesome axles that were on it and all of the custom, like all of the scale accessories that came with the kit itself. My wife actually went out on a little bit of a whim and decided to do a build video series for the viewers on RC Adventures. She did a killer job with this Axial SCX-10-2. It was one of the first series of the SCX-10-2. And it was the first time I had ever actually seen a gal put together an RC truck on YouTube. So that was really a special thing. She did a killer job. Not a lot of people saw that build video series, but she had a good time. I'm sure glad she did it, and hopefully maybe we'll see her put together another truck in the future. Who knows? The Sawback, the Gmade Sawback, get to the chopper. This was where Arnold Schwarzenegger was sitting. This was in so many videos of mine. In fact, this was one of the first vehicles that I put a Rock 412 brushless. Look at that, an 1800 kV setup. Wonderful, crawling, torquey motor. This thing, I have a hard time. Out of all the things I've let go, given away, you know, whatever, recycled, I still have this one. It's just a funny old Willy. I like it. That's totally what she said. Do you guys remember when I did the whole how to do a paint series where I did salt chipping, how to do weathering? This actually started off as a, you know, like a white bod. All of that painted on rust, aging of the winch, snatch block on the side here, very powerful. I've used this truck. This is a CA10, I believe. I called it an International Harvester, either way. I know they're different, but still, they're pretty close. This one looks a lot like the one I have in my yard in full size. Interesting fact about this one, this is only rear wheel drive with an open diff on dualies. Very challenging. I've got a brushed motor on the inside. A lot of people would ask me, why the heck would you even bother with something like that? And because, as you can see, I've got lots of different trucks set up for different uses and different applications. So I love the challenge of taking this truck out onto the trail and having an open diff dually and the challenges that's presenting. That's why I've got the snatch block and the winch on the front. Aha, there it is. Look at the 1/6 scale RCSparks figure in my 1/6 scale Suzuki Samurai. I upgraded this off camera, but since we've had so much bad weather, I haven't been able to really take it out and show you guys. All the tires have been changed out. What a beautiful, aggressive looking tread pattern on there. The LED lights, the top cage, all these little accessories really helping this, this vehicle pop. And of course, I was lucky enough in my years to earn this gold name-plated winch from Capo. That's my full name. Got to put that on here. This was actually a replica of a Jimny that I saw when I was in Hong Kong doing filming an event called the Asian Scale Invasion. It was one of the things that I spent a ton of money on that I wanted to go to and experience at least once in my life, and I'm sure glad I did. Here it is, the Vaterra Ascender. I've had a few of these over the years, that's for sure, but this guy has been with me the longest. This is the original. This is actually the RC4 drive 2.2 Mudslinger tires, still has mud on the inside, mounted up on aluminum rims. Again, LED light bar on top. And if I was to bust in here, shall we have a look? You'll see it is very old. But again, there's a pattern with these servos, these Savox 1210 SGs. They're very expensive, but they last a very long time. What's behind this ugly Gorilla Tape? A single box speaker. That's actually a splash guard. And this is a replacement top to the back box there. King shocks. A lot of people said they had leaky King shocks. Mine haven't. But I know in RC, stuff breaks down all the time. Now, if you love rock bouncers, you are going to love this one. I got this in a trade from my buddy Michael. He actually ran it in this year's, which is 2019, Rude Boys RC Tough Truck Competition. This is all, of course, based on Traxxas style axle, so it's got all the brass weights all the way around. Front and back, of course, for those portal axles. A very strong, and listen to this, listen. You can hear it's just got strength to it. So I knew this is a no-brainer. When I had a chance to get it, I snapped it up. This is possibly the only Trail Finder 2 that I've ever seen that pulled the judge with a top huge brushless T8. This is a racing motor. If you guys know anything about Trail Finder 2s, you will laugh that I've got Puller tires on here, a giant T8 motor. I was running up to a 6S LiPo on this thing so I could pull the Judge, which is a weight pulling sled that I have here. Of course, it shredded the differentials. It doesn't matter if you had helical gears in there. It didn't matter if you need different axles altogether, but dang, it looks good. All hail the toy Boata. This is a Top Gear BBC edition. Do you remember the Nissan? Do you remember the toy Boata? Well, this was a culmination of the two, where I actually replicated Jeremy Clarkson's voyage of putting a giant outboard engine on the back, well, motor in this case. Plus, he was piloting from the back here, so you could actually turn the engine with that steering wheel. It did have a bilge pump, which would shoot all the water out of this fire cannon, and this thing weighs 13 pounds. I wanted to replicate this right down to the point, even to where the water line was for Jeremy and the challenges that he had. We definitely had a good time. If you guys want to check out more about this, just search for Toy Boata RC Adventures. Tango, a favorite of so many viewers, my very first rock bouncer, always imagining that I was Tim Cameron ripping up the side of some bounty hill with Mad Ram filming me. Of course, that's the beauty of radio control, is that if you can't have it in large scale, you can certainly have it in small scale. The only difference, of course, this one down on the end being a shaft-driven rock bouncer, I decided to go motor on axle here, and then I installed some beautiful Tekin 3100 kV brushless motors on here. At the TTC this year, I had it glitch out on me for a power issue, and of course the small gears inside the transmission of these Bully 2 axles did not like that, and the drive pins shear so easily, and they are an awkward size. They're not an average size, so a bit of a pain. I'll have to take this apart and get this ready again, but Tango and cash on the end for those that get the reference. My beautiful Ace One. My second Capo, well, I should say on the show today. A lot of people are wondering where my Tatra might be, that big 8x8 that I had from Capo years ago. I actually traded it away, gave it to my buddy Luke, and went instead for this orange cage. Now, you guys are probably jaw-dropped right now. You did what? But the Tatra itself was one of the first engineering feats of Capo, and it was a very challenging unit to work on. Also, parts were a little difficult to get. But the Ace One, I actually was gifted this when I was in Hong Kong. I had a little bit of say in how this was put together and marketed. In fact, even with the price point that they had it in, I was able to negotiate with them when they were building this. I've been working with Capo for at least 5 or 6 years. That's part of the reason. That's our 5th year anniversary winch right there that I was able to get on the front of the Sixer. Well, this one, my friends, is a wonderful model. The Ace One, it looks like a rat's nest of wires in here because it is. But if you look at it, there's a BEC, or the receiver, the ESC, and a BEC right here, all kind of wired in. And normally I'd have a battery sitting up here to take and power my independent LED lights on the top. This was a cable-driven steering system, one of the very first cable-driven steering systems we have ever seen. Also, it was a faux disc brake. That wasn't something that was new, but Capo is constantly bringing innovation to the game. This was a really great ride. A little bit like owning a Ferrari though, is something like this hard body, very difficult to take out on the trail because if it rolls over you could break it very easily. More of a shelf king if you want to take it out on the trail, you just got to be careful with it. Now this was my SMT-10, my friends. This was maximum destruction. This was the whole build I did on that. This is an open differential monster truck, really made for on the trail, jumping logs, jumping roots, that whole thing. I love this truck as a whole. I did do quite a bit of upgrading to it. In fact, these Fling Kings from J Concepts are absolutely beautiful tires. The really wide axle on this truck makes it so it can handle speed and jumps without really having a super high center of gravity. I had to modify the body posts, of course, put in a sound kit, and then I put on this beautiful body right here that was gifted to me by my friend. I appreciate that very much, of course. So, moving on to the next one right here. Gene, my man, I know you're watching right now, or if you're not, I still want you to know I appreciate that because that really set that body off. A lot of people may ask me, and when they recognize this body, didn't you have another one for the Killer Crawler 2? And the answer was yes, it's up there. But the Killer Crawler 2, I actually gifted to David Jr. many, many, many years ago. So that was a giant quarter scale crawler that I had. Here's my son's truck. The TRX4 Sport, what a beautiful little rig. Wonderful trucks, wonderful 10-scale truck for kids to get started with and or adults because single-speed transmission, locked diffs all the time. My son has had a ball with this. I did switch out the ESC, I did switch out the servo on it, but that was for no other reason than he really just beats the heck out of this truck, and he's basically out driving me already at 6 years old. That's the job of any dad though, isn't it? Teach him what you know. Here's my wife's beautiful new Mercedes from Traxxas. This is, my wife didn't have a Traxxas. We didn't know they were coming out with a 6x6 so soon after, so as soon as I found that out, this one went to my wife, because anybody in the scale trail truck game should have a TRX4 of their own. Traxxas came on the market with the TRX4, basically introducing the portal axle system, and really it has become one of the major front runners in the trail trucking game. There are lots of manufacturers out there, lots of people have their favorites, and of course, it really comes down to personal choice and style. Looks like I'm going to have to give her a little bit of a car wash here today. Who remembers Pinky, the original girl RC? This chick has been through hell and back, through the Lethbridge TTCs and the axle twisters long before Crazy Joe and the boys even existed. We were down there rocking with those boys. Troy Hatfield, if you're still listening or watching, man, good for you for starting something that the worldwide has now been able to take up and adopt on their own. Pinky was a brainchild of mine to get my girlfriend involved in radio control, because I loved radio control so much. And I thought, if I got a truck for my wife and I painted it pink and I did it up really nice and then surprised her with it, maybe she'd go out on the trail with me. And darn it, that was the thing, and that's what happened. And now she has 3 different trail trucks, which is super fun for our son Morris, of course, because now we get to go out as a family. Almost like a Gaz truck from Spin Tires, the Russian truck. This, my friends, is a GC4M, I believe it was, from Cross RC. This is a command center truck. It's a wonderful little unit where you could actually, that's where I keep my battery, keep all your scale accessories, your dudes, whatever you want in there. I was fortunate enough to have Cross RC actually paint this for me and then send it to me when I was actually really not doing well health-wise. They wanted to send it to me to cheer me up, and indeed it did. I got to unbox it on camera, have lots of fun with it, and it is now a part of my military truck collection. I love how they even muted the lights out so it looks like it's really a yellow light when it's turned on. I cannot mention Capo without mentioning their second JK release. Now, they had a first JK release, but this is the JK Maxx. This is different. This was not the one that was $2,400. In fact, I helped set the price on this one as well, because it was so expensive out of the gate. I said, you guys are going to have a hard time selling it to anybody, so we were able to talk them down in price. This is an all-metal vehicle, guys. This is like ultimate scale. This is the vehicle to get. It weighs 13 pounds also, comes with all the lights, a lit up dashboard, you know, you name it, it's got it. I even put in an air ride system. You got that right. The shocks are actually air shocks that you can fill up with a remote control, so it increases the height or decreases the height depending where you are on the trail. I had a great time with this truck, and I think it was Candy in Palm Desert in the States a few years ago. If you guys want to go and check out the JK Maxx in Palm Desert, it is an absolutely phenomenal ride. I had a really hard time scratching the paint up on that one because I love this truck so much. Now, you can't have one Mercedes without the 6x6 G-Wagon. This is absolutely almost every person's dream that loves Mercedes, to have one of these in full size. It can run you, a good $500,000, that's for darn sure. Absolutely beautiful. You can get these all the way up to $2 million from what I understand. And that's US if you really wanted to put all the tricks and bells and whistles. This is a slightly less expensive version. This is about just under $1,000 from what I understand US at the time of this filming, depending on where you find it. And you can own your own, go out on the trail. I love the extra axle. We've shown the reason this extra axle is helpful in a 6x6 is when you're actually going up an incline on an angle, it actually helps you hold it even more steady. Another advantage of having a 6x6, obviously, other than having the extra axle, is to help you climb, because when you have a longer wheelbase, you're not going to roll over as easily. So we've been making 6x6s on the show for years and years and years, and now that they're becoming more mainstream, it's great to see it. A lot of people will say to me, how come I haven't got the Axial 6x6? And I gotta say, guys, I'm totally in love more with the older style of Axial. I know, I'm gonna have a lot of people out there that are gonna hate on me for saying this, but those new one-piece axles that Axial is offering now that it's been sold to another company is just something that personally I find, difficult to work with. I think people getting into the hobby now, it's great. You can buy a ready-to-run vehicle, everything's good to go, but really if you wanted to start modifying, you really have to kind of do it from the ground up. This model is actually the Beast number 2. I know we've been talking a lot about Beasts, but the Beast number 1, which was all the way back there, the one that started it all, I always had a backup machine, and viewers will actually know that watch the show. This was the Beast number 2. Same Integy shocks that were on there. It just was more of a stand-in for shots that I needed. Look at the Dodge paint job on here, done by Pit Dog Hydro. Changes, you can see from green to brown to purple. There's a flame job on there. Absolutely stunning. And of course, right here, this is a discontinued rock crawler, another motor on axle. This is the Axial XR10. The XR10 was in answer to a Berg axle, which was from years ago, En Route Berg, I believe they were called. German, I believe? Hard to say. Back when rock crawling, competition rock crawling, was huge. That's back in the Crawler Ted days, Ted's Garage. People ask me, where is Crawler Ted? I don't know. I haven't seen him for years, actually. That's the thing about the hobby. People come and go and meet up and then lose touch, but once you see each other again, it's always like, hey, how are you doing? No time has passed. And before you type, hey man, your tires are on backwards, they're not actually. Some people would think that they are, but I'm not mud flinging. I'm not trying to clear mud out of these treads. In fact, I'm using these as a clawing action, so as it's going forward, it claws onto the rocks. Controlling each motor is 2 independent ESCs. I also have a BEC in there, which is a voltage regulator to help run a super powerful massive servo on the front. And then when we're talking about 6x6s, here is what we used to call Black Peter. Now all painted up, red Peterbilt. You can see here, everything is beautiful. I've got a new Tekin servo on the inside, all element proof. I also have an air ride system just like I have on the JK Maxx. There is the air compressor right there with the controller, and so a 6x6 with all air ride that can pretty much lift up its whole base, the center of gravity, and get underneath any of these old style pumpkin housings. What a beautiful ride. This was actually made by Craig Baylor. Well, his original one I bought when he competed at the TTC here, and then he put his rig up for sale. This was actually the winner here on the RCSparks studio, RC Adventures TTC back in the day. And then, my friends, last but never least, one of my all-time favorite rigs. Another collaborative effort between David Jr., myself, Bloodshot Airbrushing, and all the parts I could buy from around the world. Optimus Overkill, which was HD Overkill, the Juggernaut, which was also the first dually truck that we ever saw on the internet on YouTube when it was black and gold. Who remembers watching the Overkill series? In fact, this started off as an Axial Dingo 1/10 scale Jeep. This was years and years ago. Finally ended up putting it on tracks. These beautiful, aggressive looking tracks. I got those at Asia Tees. They're not the Integy ones. Those are Integy shocks though. This has a smoke system on the inside, blows smoke. It's got 4 different motors. On the inside, look at this. 4 motors, 2 transmissions. Pick up your jaws off the floor right now. Tons of torque. There's the smoker unit right here, basically. This goes onto this little tiny unit. This is a newer unit that I had just installed recently, actually. Well, it's all coming apart on me with one. Just doing it with one hand. But regardless, this is a Goliath of a machine. Something I will be taking out in the winter for sure, because with Traxxas, this is definitely the time for it. In fact, when Everett and I went out, we filmed this when it was black. It was the Juggernaut back then. I think this video got seen like 22 million times, where he rescued that brown Ford truck, which was actually the Beast back there. Guys, I know it was a long video. Let me know, are you still watching? Did you make it through the entire video of scale trail trucks? If I missed any, I'm sorry. If I didn't answer any of the thoughts you have, make sure to post it down below. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the look at this part of my collection. Did you want me to continue? Let me know in the comment section below. Did you want me to cover other areas of the hobby? And also, one more thing. If you wanted me to go out on the trail with any one of these, let me know in the comment section. The one with the most upvotes, I'll take it out on the trail next. Until next time, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode of RC Adventures. Now get outside and have fun with RC, as apparently as it looks, I always do.